Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, and the Washington Commanders got a mixed bag of news as far as a lot of injury updates for the Commanders, man. Some of it is bad, but some of it is also good as well, and even some of the bad stuff, we have a positive outlook on it. We have multiple opinions. Dan Quinn gave a lot of the updates that we're going to talk about, but we also have some updates from Adam Schefter, from Nikki Javala, and even a couple of doctors as well. So we got to dive into the Jayden Daniels injury situation. What's going on there? Is he wearing a knee brace? There's sources out there saying that he is wearing a knee brace. We're going to dive into that. Also, Terry McLaurin with the quad injury. I'm going to show y'all while I think he will be fine, and of course there is a doctor that thinks he will be fine, but of course there's also updates that say maybe he will not be fine. And we also have to update y'all on everything Washington Commanders injury wise, because it's Marshawn Lattimore with concussion protocol. It's a lot going on. Also, the Washington Commanders potentially dodged a bad idea. Now, we missed out on a good idea as well, so it's kind of some good news, bad news there. But we definitely at least dodged a potentially bad idea that I saw a lot of Commanders fans wanted out there. And we're going to dive into all of that and more. But, of course, I have a trivia question for y'all tonight, man. Who was the first pure punter to make the Pro Bowl for Washington? And I guess to give y'all a clue, it was the 1994 season. I'm going to give you the answer to that at the end of the video. But make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Really appreciate y'all for supporting every video. Shouts out to my Watch to the End gang, man. Really appreciate y'all. Shouts out to my late night crew. I'm recording this at 2:30 a.m. so y'all already know how that gets, man. Shouts out to all of y'all. Let's go and dive into this video right now, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so let's start with the Jayden Daniels updates, man, because there's a couple of them, bro. It's a lot of different sources saying a lot of different things. So, Dan Quinn, back on Monday, September 22nd, said that Jayden Daniels remained day-to-day, and they are still ironing out the plan for what he'll do in practice this week. So that's an official update from the head coach himself. But of course, even though Dan Quinn, I don't feel like he ever just flat out lies to us. Remember that they were saying that Jayden Daniels' ribs last year were bruised, and then he himself said it was broken. It's not me just coming out of nowhere digging for research. He said it himself when I think it was with like him and Justin Jefferson and Saquon Barkley as far as the Madden cover. They were rewatching the Hail Mary play, and he himself said, yeah, I did that with broken ribs too. So, I mean, that's from him. So, I feel like the Commanders are always going to not only just downplay injuries, but definitely try to keep us, in the dark on injuries as well. Because most importantly, they don't want other teams knowing exactly what's going on. They'll prefer for, upcoming opponents like this week, specifically the Falcons, to not exactly know how hurt Jayden Daniels is. So now the Falcons have to watch film and prepare for either Marcus Mariota or Jayden Daniels. They got to do both. You got to prepare for both now. And there's a strategic advantage to, keeping everybody in the dark as possible. And for them to keep an opposing team in the dark, people like us can't know as well. So I'm not mad at it at all. But of course, you need to always take these updates with a grain of salt. And also, I do want y'all to remember, positive news wise, a positive angle on this at least, is that Jayden Daniels practiced on Friday. He was limited, and he didn't end up actually playing on Sunday, of course, against the Raiders. But he did, in fact, practice on Friday before the Raiders game. He went through a full practice, team drills, all of that. But even if he does practice all this week, that still isn't a guarantee that he plays against the Falcons, especially after the Falcons just got walloped by the Carolina Panthers. They look like they suck, and thank goodness y'all already know the Falcons are the team I hate the most, and I'm going to that game, be rooting heavily against the Falcons and heavily for the Commanders. And on top of that, not only do the Falcons look like they're one of the worst teams in the NFL, but then also Marcus Mariota went out there and balled out against the Raiders, and they may play it safe and let Jayden sit just one more week before we have to get ready for one of the best teams on our entire schedule, the Los Angeles Chargers week 5. And even also, maybe will we not potentially get like just Jayden Daniels to return as well? But also, that's when Samuel Cosmi is officially like allowed to come off of the PUP list. Now, granted, maybe he isn't ready. But it was a requirement for him to miss the first 4 games of the season no matter what. He could be 100% healthy. He would not have been allowed to play any of these first 4 weeks, including this upcoming game against the Falcons. But maybe, say if Jayden misses the game against the Falcons, maybe against the Chargers, we come back, Jayden returns. We get Samuel Cosmi back for the first time since January. Maybe even if Terry McLaurin is forced to miss this Falcons game, maybe he comes back against the Chargers. The Chargers may end up getting the best and healthiest version of the Washington Commanders that we've really had all offseason, because again, Samuel Cosmi being hurt really sucks. Now granted, Will Harris is on the IR. We'll see like how long that lasts. That means he's gonna have to miss a minimum of 4 weeks. But outside of that, man, it sounds like the Commanders may get healthy at the right time. We'll see how they play it, though. Are they going to play it safe and let Jayden sit out another week? Or are they going to throw him out there against the Falcons and see if he can stay healthy to not only beat the Falcons, but also go up against the Chargers and play them? Adam Schefter even came out and said, Commanders head coach Dan Quinn said that quarterback Jayden Daniels remains day-to-day due to his knee sprain. Marcus Mariota playing well Sunday also buys time for the Commanders and doesn't force them to rush back Daniels before he's ready. And then Adam Schefter even went on the Pat McAfee show to echo the exact same sentiments. What I just read to you was a tweet. Then he went on the Pat McAfee show and said, quote, Marcus Mariota played well against the Raiders. I think the way he played gives the Commanders time to not rush back Jayden Daniels, unquote. Now, granted, even though this is Adam Schefter, he said, I think. So this sounds more like an opinion than a report, if anything. But Jay Daniels agrees. He said that and that's Jay Daniels MVP on Twitter. Adam Schefter does make a good point here about the team being in a position where they can comfortably just go ahead and play Marcus Mariota and let him play another game if necessary. But at the same time, Dan Quinn told people on Monday in this press conference that that is not the case. Talking about Mariota, he said, quote, I was probably one of the least surprised people in the stadium that he played well. And then he also said that Mariota's strong performance, though, will have no impact on the timeline for Jayden Daniels' return. And I love the fact that that's the way that they're going about it, bro. If Jayden Daniels can play, if they feel like he can go in there and do well enough to win the game and not put himself at any further risk, he may not necessarily be 100%, but if he's good enough to go into this Falcons game, play well, and walk away without any long-term concern, he's playing. It doesn't matter how good Marcus Mariota is. I mean, yes, it's great to have that just in case, but that should not, the fact that Marcus Mariota is great does not make you think, you know what I'm saying, hold Jayden Daniels out one more week. And I'm super cautious. I was saying I prefer for him not to play against the Raiders, but after another week, especially with him practicing last Friday, if he goes a whole week with practicing and he looks like he's good to go ahead and play him. Now, maybe there's a little bit of bias there because it's the sorry Falcons, the team I hate the most in the NFL. I don't know, but I really feel like, hey, man, Jayden Daniels is good. Play him. Marcus Mariota being arguably the best backup quarterback in the NFL, I feel like, just like with Dan Quinn, I agree with him, that shouldn't affect whether Jayden Daniels plays or not. I mean, first of all, the Falcons aren't a division rival. They're a conference rival, but they're not a division rival. So it's not like we need this game. Like, I would understand if it were like the Cowboys or the Eagles or something like that. Then it's like you gotta kind of maybe force them a little bit, even if you're uncomfortable with doing it. But the Falcons, you'll be all right. And then again, on top of all of that, the Falcons are sorry. Even if Marcus Mariota wasn't good, I think you could probably go out there and maybe even win with Josh Johnson. But I don't think it will never, ever get to that point. I honestly think Jayden Daniels will play this upcoming Sunday. Because then yesterday, Tuesday, September 23rd, now you're getting these reports from the Junkies. Then someone close to the Junkies said a source told them that Jayden Daniels was wearing a brace the other day and that his injury could be more of a 1 to 2 week thing. And so that is a little scary. And at first, I was doubting if that information was even true. Like, was that clickbait or something like that? But then Nika Javala came out and confirmed it herself. She said in her article with who is that? The Athletic she's currently with now. Daniels was seen wearing a large brace around his knee while in the locker room last week. Large brace does change things because there's all sorts of knee braces. For you to say it's large, that concerns me a little bit. He wore it again when he arrived at the stadium on Sunday and joined his teammates on the sideline near the end of their win. For those of y'all that were at the game, did y'all see the knee brace maybe or something like that? Because it sounds like he possibly had it on the sideline. I didn't notice it while watching the game live, like the regular live stream coverage that came from, who was it? It was Fox. That was Fox. Yep. That was Fox for the Raiders game. It's actually, just to let y'all know, it's going to be CBS for this upcoming Falcons game for those of y'all who will not be there. But Josh Taylor brought up a good point. He said a player wearing a knee brace after having a knee injury is very normal, by the way. People are acting like he was in an air cast or something, and that is a huge difference right there. We definitely need to make sure we emphasize the fact that this is not an air cast. This is a knee brace. People even play with knee braces. Now, I know we have the PTSD of RG3 in the knee brace and still going out there hurting himself and never coming back from it. But I think Jayden Daniels is a completely different guy. And I love the fact that it seems like Dan Quinn and Adam Peters are not using the past experiences of the Redskins when RG3 was here. And not like they're not using that as a reference of, you know, we shouldn't do this because this happened to RG3. They weren't here at the time. They were not here to experience the RG3 stuff. I mean, of course, it's better to know your history or you're doomed to repeat it, but I think that's a completely separate situation. I love the fact that they handle themselves like it is. Now, before we move on to the Terry McLaurin updates and all of the other updates for the team, shouts out to Sleeper, man. I'm telling y'all, we about to whoop up on these Falcons. Like I said, I'm going to be at the game, so I will not be live streaming on my YouTube channel. I will be at the game, and I'm going to try my best before and especially after the game to meet up with some of y'all, you know, chop it up, dap it up, take pictures, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Just hang out. We're going to see how that goes. But most importantly, football is back, man, and you now have a chance to 1,000 times your cash on daily fantasy football, man. We're 3 weeks into an NFL season, man, so don't miss out, man. Washington football has never been more exciting than it is right now. We've never had expectations this high. You know, last year was more so optimism and hope, and then it worked out very well in the end, but this is the first season since I've been alive that I've had actual real high expectations for the Commanders. So we have guys like Jayden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, even Jeremy McNichols getting in on the fun. Cliff Kingsbury has finally learned that he needs to run the ball. And so now you can pick on stats for a lot of our stars for the Commanders, like touchdowns, passing yards, receiving yards, fantasy points, and for more, up to 1,000 times your payout on Sleeper. If you're right on your picks, you can win big money, and you can use promo code SCORE like you see on the screen. That's SCORE, and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit, or you can even click the link at the top of the description of this video and every video and live stream I'm doing all year. And it's not just the Commanders in the NFL. When the NBA comes back, you can play daily fantasy for that. MLB, NHL, college football, college basketball, and even the WNBA on Sleeper. Now, as you can see on the screen, let's dive into some picks. And you know me, before I start to work on my 8-leg, well, I'm trying to turn 10 into 800 or into 1,000. You know what I'm saying? Before I get there, and I'm going to try to have, maybe I'll try to do something before the Thursday night game, just something real quick. Probably won't be an 8-leg, maybe like a 3 to 5 or something like that. We'll see. And I'll try to include that in a video, you know, earlier in the day on Thursday before the Thursday night game. But before I get to my 8-leg that I try to complete by Friday to have ready for Sunday, you know, typically throughout the week, you know, I take a look at some, you know, popular duos that we can get into, especially concerning this potential Thursday night game. And, you know, I typically, like, if I'm just going to go ahead and play a duo, I prefer to go to the riskiest one. What's the riskiest one that potentially gives me the highest payout? And all I need is for 2 of them to be right. So I'm looking at this Kyler Murray over 30.5 rushing yards and Sam Darnold over 223.5 passing yards. And he's done that once this season. And even though, hey man, that Michigan rookie over there for the Cardinals is serious, but Sam Darnold probably can throw the ball around against those guys. And Kyler Murray so far this year has gone over 30.5 rushing yards every game this season. So this could be an interesting play where, even though it's risky, you could turn 10 into 31, you could turn 20 into 63, or you could turn 100 into 316. And all you need is for these 2 people to do what they're supposed to do. Again, shouts out to the boys at Sleeper over there, promo SCORE. Now let's go ahead and dive into this Terry McLaurin injury and all of the updates with the rest of the Commanders injuries as well. All right, so now the Terry McLaurin update. Along with Jayden Daniels being considered day-to-day by Dan Quinn, is being reported by multiple sources that Terry McLaurin is also day-to-day, but his is a quad injury. So both of them have leg injuries, but Jayden Daniels is a knee sprain. Terry McLaurin is some sort of a quad injury that I still don't exactly know what it is. They just keep saying quad injury. But Ian Rappaport himself went on NFL Network and said, from the insiders of NFL Network, Commanders Terry McLaurin could miss Sunday's game with a quad injury. So that doesn't necessarily sound like great news. Remember, it was back on that 57-yard catch that should have been a touchdown. It's still insane to me that the refs reversed that call. I could even slightly understand it, just a little bit, if they didn't call it a touchdown on the field. But the fact that it was a touchdown with the initial call and then they replayed it and overturned it, that's a lot of hate right there, man. That's a lot of selling by the refs. But either way, way, Terry McLaurin did not go back into the game after his 57-yard catch should have been a touchdown catch. He was declared questionable to return like immediately and remained on the sideline for the rest of the game. We didn't necessarily need him, and that's what led to guys like Luke McCaffrey going out there and getting his first career touchdown because Noah Brown already was inactive going into the game because of an injury. Then Terry McLaurin sat on the sideline for the rest of the game after that large deep pass that he caught from Marcus Mariota, and then so that just left everybody else out there. But more importantly, Terry McLaurin-wise, Adam Schefter even gave an update yesterday, September 23rd at 12 p.m., saying Washington wide receiver Terry McLaurin is uncertain to play Sunday versus Atlanta due to his quad injury per sources. He didn't say unlikely, he just said uncertain. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of like a little ambiguous right there, but he is still seeking more information about the injury. Now, that's what gets me. What do you mean by he's seeking more information? Nikki Javala reported that Terry McLaurin is getting additional opinions on his quad injury. That scares me. Most players do seek additional opinions for their injuries before determining treatment. Dan Quinn said yesterday, so as in Monday, that he'd have a better sense of where all the Washington Commanders injured players stand on Wednesday. So just to let you know, at some point later on today, again, I'm recording this at 2:40 a.m. So by the time I go to sleep, wake up, maybe Dan Quinn would have already have given us the updates, and I'll give y'all those updates too as well, as far as like what's really going on from Dan Quinn's words. Right now, we're diving into a little bit of Dan Quinn, but we're getting a lot of different sources from Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport. Again, we have a doctor coming up as well. But Wednesday, later on today, by the time a lot of y'all are watching this, we'll officially have like Dan Quinn updates from the first practice of the week, which is Wednesday. But again, Terry seeking a second opinion is not a good sign, bro. That definitely scares me. Shouts out to Chris Russell. He pointed out the fact that it doesn't necessarily mean that it's definitive doom, but you almost always seek a second opinion because you don't like the first team doctor opinion and what he had to say, and you possibly want a different answer or to make sure. So that's why I am a little pessimistic just because of that. The fact that he's having to seek another opinion, it sounds like he didn't like the first one. Now, maybe the first one was good and he just wants to make sure, okay, yeah, I'm definitely good, but typically that's not how these things go. And then, of course, a lot of Commanders fans are on his head. Like the Jayden Daniels thing, I've seen some crazy things like especially after the Raiders win and how well Marcus Mariota played. Some people saying Marcus Mariota should actually just be the starter and just let Jayden Daniels sit as long as he needs because Marcus Mariota's better and things. I'm seeing all kinds of stuff, and of course people judging Jayden Daniels because of his mobility, and that's the reason he keeps getting hurt and all of that type of stuff, even though there's insane statistics out there that show that pocket passers actually get hurt more often than the quarterbacks that run. But I'm not even going to dive into that now because right now Commanders fans are on Terry head now. Like you had somebody say and they mocked them, quote, but I'm not like other 30-year-olds when it comes to injuries. And I thought it was funny because Terry McLaurin has never missed a game for at least like the last 4 or 5 years straight. And as soon as he gets paid, and the whole thing was that I even kept saying it. Well, I know he's 30 years old, but he doesn't miss games. Now, all of a sudden, as soon as he got his money 3 games in, sounds like he might have to miss a game. I mean, you have people out there saying that the guy has one decent game and he is now doubtful the very following week. I mean, it is kind of crazy. And shouts out to Disco. He said it all goes back to training camp. All camp, we heard how well the defense was playing and how much the offense was struggling. Coleman didn't practice for 23 straight days, benched. Brown rarely practiced at all because of another injury. Hurt even more actually now with a different injury. It was a knee injury at first. Now it's a groin injury that he suffered against the Packers. And then Terry didn't practice pretty much at all and now possibly hurt. He said no coincidence in my opinion. I feel like both things could be true because I feel like Terry McLaurin missing a lot of the practices in training camp could have led to this injury in a way, but I feel like this is an injury that even if he practiced all off season, just an ugly situation where you're trying to dive for the touchdown, somebody's pulling on your leg. I feel like even if Terry McLaurin practiced all training camp, that injury still would have happened, but you never know. Butterfly effect and stuff like that, but I'm personally not going to look at the situation like that. My only thoughts when I hear about Terry McLaurin being hurt is just please get well soon. I'm not going to judge the fact that he just signed a major contract and now he's hurt and stuff like that. I'm just like, please come back as soon as possible and as healthy as possible too. Don't rush back. Make sure you're perfectly good to go. But it's also interesting too because remember in that game, after Luke McCaffrey scored his touchdown with like a little over 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Terry McLaurin was the one that like ran and jogged back onto the field to get him his game ball. Remember, he did that with Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt week 1 after he scored his first touchdown. Terry McLaurin, just being the great guy that he is, made sure he went and secured that football for Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt, aka Bill. Same thing with Luke McCaffrey week 3. He scores his first NFL career touchdown going into his 3rd game of his 2nd year. Terry McLaurin is the one that's out there jogging to go get it. Like, shouts out to PFT commenter. He even included this clip that was uploaded by News 4 Sports, where he even tweeted with it. He jogged to get Luke's first touchdown ball for him after getting injured. Quad will be fine per me. I mean, you can look at this like you would just never think that he was even hurt. Even looking at him walking after the game was over, I would have never thought that he had any type of injury at all if he didn't tell us. Like, look at this clip right here. And this is coming from All Pro Reels. He was tweeting about how Terry McLaurin with 6,528 passing yards has now passed Bobby Mitchell for number 5 on the franchise's all-time receiving yards list. But in this clip, this is the end of the game, and Terry McLaurin is chilling. I would never think he has an injury. I'm not even seeing a limp. I'm not seeing him favoring one leg over the other. He looks like he's chilling to me. Am I tripping? Like, I don't know, man. He looks fine to me. I guess we'll see. So that's what has me optimistic, because he looked fine. But who knows? Maybe the doctors saw something there and they're like, yeah, maybe you didn't feel it, but maybe there's some damage there that even though you don't necessarily feel the pain, you probably should be cautious with. I don't know. But then also a doctor gave his opinion on Terry's injury and how, like, basically the history of that specific exact injury throughout the NFL and the history of the NFL may give us like an idea of like the layout of exactly how long Terry McLaurin could potentially be out, if at all. It was Dr. Jesse Morse, MD, on Twitter, and he was talking about Terry McLaurin's quad injury with a 1 minute and 33-second video. I would highly suggest you go watch that entire breakdown so it really puts your mind at ease, really takes the stress off of your mind. Like, yeah, Terry McLaurin's actually, he should be okay based off of what this doctor's saying. But I feel like the most important quote was that, quote, if he got lucky, he'll play this week, but if he didn't, he may miss a week or 2, unquote. And so even the main thing I took from that is that the worst case scenario isn't even that bad. Of course, not having Terry McLaurin any game is bad news, especially against one of the best teams in the NFL and the Chargers that we have to play in 2 weeks or a week and a half. But still, hearing that Terry's injury could have him out for maybe 2 weeks at worst does let me exhale just a little bit, man. Just a little bit. And then also, Jay Daniels MVP was asked by James_Souls, hey, outside of kicker, who is your most concerning position on the team right now? Jay Daniels said, I'd say wide receiver. Terry should be good, but if not, then Deebo Samuel is your wide receiver one. He's been used on special teams a good amount, so he's taking damage on as a wide receiver and as a returner. Not sure when Noah Brown will be healthy, and even if he can stay healthy through the season at all, let alone, I'm adding this, even when he is out there not dropping passes. And then the rest of the wide receivers are still unproven as well. Jalen Lane, even though he had the great game, especially the great punt return against the Raiders, he dropped a touchdown in the end zone. Just straight up dropped it. Luke McCaffrey, he finally got his first career touchdown, but that's not to say that he's about to go out there and just be this true game-changing, consistent, efficient wide receiver or anything like that. So yes, this wide receiver group, even though we have ridiculous amounts of injuries to the secondary, which we're going to dive into really soon, the wide receiver group does probably concern me the most outside of kicker. I agree. Now, speaking of other injury updates, shouts out to Nick Javala for uploading this list right here of all of the Commanders' major injuries right now. As you can see, Jayden Daniels with the knee injury, Terry McLaurin with the quad injury, we've already discussed that. And of course, Noah Brown and John Bates both dealing with groin injuries that they both suffered in that Packers game. Now, granted, Noah Brown was already dealing with a knee injury before that, but now he and John Bates, I don't know what happened in that Packers game, but groin injuries was just, I don't know, was just apparent. I'm scared. And then safety Percy Butler's dealing with a hip injury. He was questionable return against the Raiders. And then Trey Amos dealing with a calf injury, was also questionable to return from the Raiders against the Raiders. And that's scary too, because he's playing like one of the best corners in the entire NFL. Forget this rookie class. Out of the entire NFL, he's playing literally like a top 10 corner. I'm going to show y'all the stats in a video that I'm working on. I want to have that video out at some point later today, as in Wednesday, because I think y'all really need to see, because before we start to move on and start the game plan towards the Falcons, I feel like I just need to do one last review and a deep dive into the stats that came from that Raiders game, and to show y'all why, even though the overall team isn't playing as well as we hoped, some specific players and aspects of the team is far exceeding expectations. And Trey Amos, as a rookie, forget second round pick, as a rookie, is already playing like a top 10 corner. I'm gonna show y'all the stats. Like, I have charts, advanced stats, everything. He's balling. So him being hurt definitely scares me a little bit. Then on IR, our IR is already extensive. These are guys that got hurt during the season. We're not even talking about Samuel Cosme, who was hurt before the season even started. We're talking about guys during the season. Jonathan Jones hamstring injury, IR. Dan Quinn said he probably will not be out the entire season, but we'll see. Same thing with Will Harris, fractured fibula. And I guess you can emphasize fractured instead of broken, so I guess that's like an optimistic way to look at it. Like, hey, he's on IR as well, but his probably won't be that long. Maybe we get Jonathan Jones and Will Harris after the 4 weeks immediately after, like, they're allowed to come back according to IR rules. But then you have Dietrich Wise with a quad and Austin Eckler with an Achilles, and I feel like they're definitely gone for the season. Even though we said the same thing about Jonathan Allen last year with the pec injury that he had, but I don't know, man. Dietrich Wise and Austin Eckler is not looking good. And of course, the pup list, Samuel Cosme dealing with a knee injury that he's been dealing with since he tore his ACL back in January. But Dan Quinn went ahead and confirmed that Will Harris broke his fibula, or technically fractured it. Kind of the same thing, but fractured sounds like it's not a full-blown break, but you know, that it just depends on how you want to word it. I'm still worried about the injury, and I just hope they don't rush him back too soon, but I would like that. Even after signing Darnell Savage, I would like to have Will Harris back as soon as possible, bro. He's a very important piece of our coverage ability on this team. Our run stopping and our tackling hasn't necessarily been that great, but the coverage, Will Harris has been on point. He prevented a touchdown on my Georgia dog, Brock Bowers, that probably changed that whole momentum and the aspect of how the game was going. But Dan Quinn also said that he's hopeful that Harris will come back at some point this season. But for you to even have to say that sounds like, well, even if he does, it's probably going to be later. If you're even questioning whether he can come back this season or not, sounds like he's not going to come back anytime soon, just to let you know. And he also pointed out that Dan Quinn himself said that Washington does lose coverage ability without Harris. I completely agree. And then going from some bad news to some good news, though, Dan Quinn confirmed that cornerback Marshawn Lattimore did clear concussion protocol, so at least there's some positive news there. Now to move on to how the Washington Commanders avoided a potential bad decision. Even though I don't think they were looking at him at all anyway, the Giants went ahead and signed former Falcons kicker, Younghoe Koo to their practice squad, and that source is telling Ian Rappaport and those guys at NFL Network. And so thank goodness the Giants saved the Commanders from potentially making a mistake, even though, again, I don't think the Commanders were going to make the mistake even if Younghoe Koo was available. But thank goodness, bro. Again, as the biggest Falcons hater you'll ever meet, rooting for Younghoe Koo to sell the Falcons was a very enjoyable experience the last couple of years. It would have been such severe karma and just so ironic if he would have ended up on the Commanders and selling us as well. So I'm so happy we don't have to worry about that. And then at the same time, though, yeah, it's good that we missed a potential Younghoe Koo mistake. That's the good news. Then the bad news is at the same time, I really wish that we gave this one guy a shot that just got signed to another team's practice squad. So we had good news of dodging the Younghoe Koo bullet, but then we also missed out on a potential good kicker that was available, man. So after the Falcons let Younghoe Koo leave, they cut him, and now he's on the Giants practice squad. The Falcons made a move to get kicker Ben Sauls to their practice squad. And I was really, before I was able to do a video, like tonight, you know, going into Wednesday morning, I was looking at this, I think like early morning yesterday, like, hey man, this Ben Sauls kid may be something, bro. There was this 49ers guy that pointed out the fact that in the preseason with the Steelers, he was 5 of 6 on field goals and 6 of 6 on PATs. That's already better than Matt Gay alone. Let alone last year at Pitt, he went 6 for 7 from 50 plus 7 of 9 from 40 to 49, and 6 of 6 from 30 to 39. Remember, Matt Gay missed a 37-yarder against the Raiders, y'all. This guy is at least 100% from anything 39 or below. He, again, 7 of 9 from 40 to 49, and 6 of 7 from 50 plus. But again, no use of even dwelling on this because now he's on the Falcons practice squad. But at the same time, maybe we can snatch him from their practice squad if they don't use him like to protect them, or maybe they end up not liking them and letting them go. Hey, Commanders, y'all may want to get in on this because at the very least have a kicker competition. I'm not saying you got to immediately sign this guy and then release Matt Gay, but at the very least put a fire under his belly or something, like, you know, hold him to the fire, do something, like have at least Matt Gay on his toes, on his best behavior, because there's another guy behind him that's potentially waiting to take a spot. Well, that's not bringing in any kicker competition. I don't like how comfortable Matt Gay potentially feels on this team at all. I hate it because it's not even just the field goal kicks. after we scored our first offensive touchdown, he ended up kicking the ensuing kickoff out of bounds, and then that's how the Raiders started with excellent field positioning, and then immediately 45-yard throw from Geno Smith. They're already in the red zone, and then they ended up only settling for 3 points, but like that could have potentially have changed it. It could have been 7-7, and with Matt Gay doing a terrible kickoff kick being the catalyst for all of it, bro. Shouts out to, again, going back to Will Harris preventing that touchdown where Brock Bowers could have had that, and he knocked it down. So shouts out to Will Harris for kind of, you know, fixing Matt Gay's potential mistake right there. But also moving on before we get up out of here, just a couple of updates. Darnell Savage will wear number 25, just to let you know. That number was last assigned to Carlin Vigors. Not necessarily the best of news when it comes to jersey numbers, but hopefully he can defy that number. Also, I saw some people talking about how the Texans released safety CJ Garner-Johnson. Sort of a head case. I like his personality. Like, I get it. You know what I'm saying? I'm a big trash talker. I don't necessarily think he's a great fit for us. That's why I'm not doing like a whole video just on that alone. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to do that to y'all with that one, just to do a whole video dive and at the end say, I don't think we should sign him. I just feel like I might as well just go ahead and throw that at the end of this video right here. And then also, of course, now we can vote for the Pepsi Zero Sugar of the Week. You have Cam Scatterbo, Amarian Hampton, Luther Burden, Torrey Horton, Carson Schwessinger. I've never fully known how to pronounce that last name. And then, of course, our boy Jalen Lane. And, of course, also, this is our award. Jayden Daniels set a record last year for the most offensive rookie of the years ever won in a season, ever in NFL history. And then week 1, we're right back at it to Ja'Cory winning it. Now, of course, we didn't win it week 2. Let's go ahead and make sure that Jalen Lane wins it week 3 so we can reclaim this award. Even when Jayden Daniels is ineligible, we're making sure that our other guys that deserve it are still winning it. That's that Commander's power right there, man. This fan base is serious, bro. Stop playing with us. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if about everything discussed in the video. Please still follow that like button, still follow the subscription button, still follow the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Shouts out to my watch to the end game, man. WTTG in the building, man. Shouts out to the late night crew, you know what I'm saying? LNC in the building as well. If you're still watching this video right now, you're still watching me and hearing me, that's really appreciated, man. Salute to you personally. Shouts out to my watch to the end game. And also, the answer to the trivia question. Now, I had no idea. Never would I have guessed this. Again, 1994 season, like I wasn't even there, so I couldn't tell you what's going on here. I've tried to do my best to go back and rewatch and learn Redskins history and stuff like that, but there's just certain, like a punter from 1994. Now, granted, he made the Pro Bowl, but so shouts out to any of y'all that have the elite ball knowledge, the elite ball memory to know this without having to look it out, nor having to wait for me to tell you the answer. The answer is Reggie Roby, just to let you know. Again, the question was the first pure punter to make the Pro Bowl for Washington in franchise history. It's your boy, Reggie Roby, just to let you know. Now, of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything discussed in this video, man. Let me know how you feel about the Jayden Daniels injury situation. How do you want to play it? Do you think we should just hold him out against the Falcons and don't bring him out into the Chargers because Marcus Mariota is that good, or you don't want to chance it with Jayden Daniels' injury? How do you feel about Terry McLaurin? You know what I'm saying? Do you feel like he should be ready by this Falcons game, or do you want to just go ahead and sit him out into the Chargers game as well? Let me know how you feel about all of the injury updates. How do you feel about our kicker situation? Let me know all of that and more in the comment section. I'm gonna try my best to read and reply to as many as possible. Leave a like on the way out. I'm gonna catch y'all later. Appreciate y'all. I'm out.